Good evening, everyone. We are at the fag end of Retail Technology Conclave, and it's our pleasure to welcome Naiyya Sagi, co-founder of the Good Glam Group. Welcome to ReTechCon 2023.
Thank you so much, Shailesh.
Yeah. Just
Hello? Yeah. Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here.
okay. So, Naiyya, you have been in the news a lot. You know, people know about you. People have read about you, about Baby Chakra, about the Good Glam Group. To start with, you know, if you can take us through the journey of Naiyya Sagi, huh, with the Baby Chakra and the Good Glam Group, and then, you know, we'll take it ahead from there.
Sure, Hitesh. Happy to share. So, I call my journey a journey of, pretty much Entrepreneur 1.0, Entrepreneur 2.0. And I'll tell you what I was before Entrepreneur 1.0. I was actually, and don't judge me, I was a consultant at McKinsey. Had a career where I was exposed to just seeing, I think, at scale, how businesses operate and how CEOs think and how CEOs think and how, and kind of tracking trends across the world. Entrepreneur 1.0 was Baby Chakra, like I shared with you, which was a very transformative experience for me because we were building out actually one of the world's first community product that was looking to solve the problem statements of parents through the journey of pregnancy and parenting in extremely personalized, hyper-relevant ways. We ended up building, in the 7 years that we operated independently as an entity, the largest community of mothers in India, more than 30 million mothers, more than 10,000 doctors, and we used to say every minute a Baby Chakra baby is born. And that was a very beautiful story because wahan se na, we started from Baby Chakra, the community, the product stack, and then we went into D2C. We launched India's first co-created baby product range. We launched on Amazon. In fact, Amazon blocked us the first 2 days we launched it because itne sales aaye. They were like, "Aap AMS bhi nahi chala rahe, chal kya raha hai?" Right? And we had to take it back and we basically said, this is the power of community. And then Entrepreneur 2.0 happened when I met Darpan, who is the founder of MyGlam. And we got talking and we were like, how do we do like this, proverbial 1 + 1 = 11? How do we make things bigger than the sum of its part? So that point in time, Priyanka, Darpan and I joined hands and we, pretty much started the journey of the Good Glam Group. Now the Good Glam Group is, the first content to commerce, direct to consumer unicorn in India. We are very lucky. We have some amazing brands in our portfolio. We have MyGlam, which is one of India's largest beauty, makeup, cosmetics brand. We have Momsco, which is an acquisition we did 2 years back. At the same time, we did Baby Chakra. We have Baby Chakra. We have Sirona Hygiene, which is the largest seller of menstrual cups in the country. We have Organic Harvest, one of the larger organic plays in the country. And of course, we have Saint Botanica. We also have media assets. We reach more than 200 million monthly active users through our content/media assets, which is pretty much, I think, a half of digital India or a quarter of digital India on social. And that is through our assets like PopXO, Miss Malini, Scoop Whoop, Tweak, Baby Chakra as well. And we have 1.5 million creators. And we have our Good Community vertical, which has more than 20 million community members. So that in a nutshell is now the Good Glam Group. And that's what I'm looking at today.
I'm just trying to comprehend what all you are telling, because there is so much to the Good Glam Group. As an entrepreneur, you have scaled up the brand Baby Chakra and now the brands at the Good Glam Group. What were the major challenges that you have seen during this scale up? And then we'll come to the other aspect of the evaluation of acquisition and stuff like that. But first, when in this journey of yours as an entrepreneur, what were the major challenges?
So, I think the reality of the situation is that, of course, India is an incredibly thriving and very, very bullish consumer economy in some sense, right? But the other reality to it is that it's very difficult to build trust-based brands, right? Because everybody's trying to build a brand. I think, if you look at like sort of the back end of things, right? You're looking at contract manufacturing, you're looking at logistics, you're looking at like, plug-in retail, D2C, commerce tax. I think all of that has been optimized and exists, right? So the biggest problem statement I think we as brands probably face today is actually building the brand out, right? And building a brand that can circumvent and leapfrog at very, very, I think, smart, efficient ways the journey of trust building. If you look at, legacy brands, it took hundreds of years to build the same level of trust. So now, what does that mean for us, right? The biggest challenge, therefore, to put it very simplistically, is the challenge of CAC, the cost of customer acquisition. Because you can spend a lot of money, but aapka CAC, if it's not making sense, you're not going to make sense as a business at the heart of it all, right? And number two, while you're building out the brand, how are you building trust and building in levers of trust? How we've solved for it in the group, Hitesh, and of course, we are all learning in this journey as well. But two things have worked very well in our favor. First, I think we got kind of lucky as well, and it was also strategic. We, saw the journey of content, community, driving commerce play out very beautifully. So we went on an acquisition journey where we acquired some amazing, amazing large content and community assets, right? Which is a difficult moat for someone to build today. If you think about how do you get to 200 million monthly active users on social platforms, I mean, just think about it. It's impossible to build from scratch. There was a time, there was an era when your social platforms allowed you to build that to that scale, right? It's tougher today. So the content journeys have allowed us to basically talk to people at a certain scale, tell them about our product offerings, about our brand mission, about our value statement, about all the things that we're doing that are good in the brand products that we bring to market, build trust, build consideration, and then through the funnel of that, we have our own optimized D2C stack, right? Where they actually go through a certain journey of retention, of engagement, of consideration, aided by communities of peers, and that drives the conversion funnel. So I think that has helped us, get to, pretty much be on the smartphone, which is where the audience is, or, be smartly, digitally native in the retail outlets where we are present as well.
You mentioned about CAC. How has the group, navigated the challenges of CAC?
So, I mean, that's a classic problem. I think every entrepreneur in the room will pretty much relate to this, right? Entrepreneur and business person. So the story is quite, if you look at it, quite simple. So the first piece to CAC is like, how do you even get into the mind space of the customer, right? And you have to be where the customer is. How do you even tell the customer, that potential customer rather, what are the new launches? Or what are the experiences people are having with the products, right? That's where the journey of content and that's where the journey of creators and, really comes into play. So, as mentioned, I think the content funnels are very interesting because you already have the attention span of our users, right? Think about, like, let's say Miss Malini or Scoop Whoop, right? Some of our content assets. What do? Kuch naya product nikla market mein. So Miss Malini's team will basically say celeb looks, right? Ya Scoop Whoop bolega ki this is something that every boyfriend should know they have to buy for their girlfriend, right? So immediately attention to grab ho gaya. Someone is looking at it, someone is reading it, and at least you've gotten mind space in the consumer's head. So they stop, they click, they try to learn more about what we are talking about. The second, of course, people do look at creators. It's like an audience. It's like the new TV, if you will, right? So people are seeing कि creator कुछ नया बोल रहा है, कुछ नया experience कर रहा है, right? उसके, whatever the experience is being shared on social. So we have 1.5 million creators that we partner with, right? At the Good Creator Co. So they talk about it. So the funnel, top of funnel gets created there. So the first journey of CAC optimization starts from that. And then the second journey of CAC optimization is when they land up on our site, D2C or even marketplaces, for instance, right? We have a very strong community stack because people still trust peers. They still trust people like themselves, right? So what we have done is we've gotten massive UGC content from real people on their experiences with our products, right? That we put up on our community page, a community tab, as well as in our testimonials and in our reviews. And that aids conversion in a big way. Then the third piece that we have is also, by the way, experts helping people navigate those choices, right? So, I mentioned Baby Chakra, 10,000 doctors, right? We've built on those to include makeup artists, dietitians, nutritionists, trichologists, dermatologists, right? And so what ends up happening is that you also get those experts to weigh in on your purchase choices. So through this entire process, Hitesh, I'm very happy to share, we've reduced our CAC to $0.5 dollars per new customer, right? Which is the lowest in the industry today.
And that's why you are a unicorn.
Yes, and we have a long way to go, of course, but yes, I think that was something that really caught the attention of our investors.
That was one of the major factors. So Naiyya, you started with Baby Chakra and then co-founded the Good Glam Group. Take us through the, how did you do the evaluation in this whole, what was the acquisition strategy? How did you go about doing this?
And this is going to be a bit more candid an answer, right? I think many times people look at acquisitions, and of course we all look at acquisitions in terms of, the financial outcomes or the financial logic or the logic of how the strategy can play out, right? But I think oftentimes, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that, right? I think, so I'll lay it out in two pieces. One is the logic and the outcome that we were looking at Baby Chakra, and what we've done our subsequent acquisitions with. What logic have we done that with, right? So from a Baby Chakra perspective, we'd already seen, as I'd mentioned, I think our D2C foray play out, I think, way better than our wildest expectations could have been. And what we realized was we were very, very good at the content and the community piece. And, this is something that was a learning we could plug into pretty much any other piece out there and build out products or work backwards and have community be built around new products being launched in markets, right? And that's when it made sense for us to be strategically part of an entity that would over time become bigger than the sum of, let's say, only MyGlam or only Baby Chakra, only PopXO, right? How do we become a bigger entity than what we could have alone been? That whole proverbial 1 + 1 = 11. So that was one piece of the broader strategy, right? A plug and play into scaling other businesses out. The second, I think, piece to it is that, when we started building this out, what we realized was that, you had to also, we had a couple of things going for us as a group that were very special, and we didn't realize how unique it was until we started talking to other founders. One piece was that we were actually very strong on the D2C stack. So while we were growing exponentially, about 60-40, actually 70-30 was our earlier split on the online space, which was 70% D2C, 30% marketplaces, right? Every other D2C founder we talked to had a different split. They were largely predicated on marketplaces. And I think that was interesting because marketplaces are a very, very strong ally to us today, and they always will be. But there was something to be said about the journey of owning your customer data, having your own customer insights, right? Being able to have a very strong repeat, replenishment, cross-sell, upsell journey, right? Being able to increase basket size because you know all of this about your customer. So when we started talking, now this comes to the other brands we acquired and we partnered with, right? When we looked at brands, we said, have you reached a certain scale on marketplaces, right? Or offline, as the case might be, because it shows at least as product market fit for that brand and for that product and for the team. The team knows what they're doing. So we looked at companies that were at about a 60 to 100 crore run rate at that point in time. And we basically said, what we will do is we will plug in the gaps. What are the gaps there? We will help you build your D2C stack out, right? We will help you build your content, your community, and your creator journeys out, right? And we will also work backwards with all our contract manufacturers, all our formulation suppliers, ingredient suppliers, and our formulators to ensure that, and of course, every other third party to ensure that we can go together as a group and negotiate the best prices for you. So that's how we got into the conversation with other brands. And, we were very fortunate to partner with some amazing, I think, founding teams and some amazing brands that have now kind of filled in and now make Good Glam the group it is, right? And therefore, if you think about it, we are basically focused on a women audience. We're looking across the spectrum though, with right from college-going students to early jobbers to women who are getting the first period to mothers, onto women who are more mature and want to make more thoughtful, organic choices on their skincare beauty regimes, right? So that's broadly the construct of the base that we cover.
Well said.
It is. It is.
In this only I have got so many questions to ask you, but one key question that comes is the word integration. How did this integration happen? And it's not easy, and you know what I'm talking about. But if you can shed some light there as well.
It's not easy at all. Let me tell you that, and let me start off with my own personal journey. I mean, I'm an acquired company, if you really, or merged company, or whatever you want to put it, right? And I'm sitting here as now the group co-founder, but I think that perhaps also I can share my experience so you kind of understand that it's not the easiest journey. And I know many of us today are, and I think it's extremely exciting. I was telling Hitesh earlier as well, when he's talking about, the whole D2C transformation. I'm like, look at so many large conglomerates and established large companies. They're looking at acquiring D2C brands because of the specific DNA they bring in. But the process of integration, the one big learning I've had is that you need to go slow to go fast. And I think that's the biggest kind of unlearning I had to do as a founder myself. Because, when you're hustling in a 100, 200 member team versus being part of, let's say, a 2,000 member team, right? Some of the processes, some of the history of culture, some of the traditions, some of the norms, some of the trust, you have to kind of rebuild, right? So while I went through that journey, and it took me about, I think, 4 to 6 months to even kind of get to the other end of it, right? And I realized, that's why I say entrepreneur 1.0 and 2.0 for me, myself. We've seen a very similar journey play out for our acquired companies as well, for our portfolio companies too, right? It takes 4 to 6 months to set things in a certain momentum, a certain process, a certain trust, a certain culture to be built. And I think that's the one piece of advice I would leave to anybody who's maybe going through a conversation on merging or getting the company acquired or acquiring a company. You know, sometimes you have to go slow to go fast. Spend the time building that base out, building the trust out, building the relationships out, building the culture out. That's one. The second piece is, I think, the amalgamation of processes, right? Every company, every team has their own, even down to HR policies, even down to policies around increments, right? Kab kya hoga, like appraisals kab honge. That unification process, again, what we did, and I think that has worked in our favor, again, we went a bit slow. See, because if you kind of just rock the boat in the beginning, what ends up happening is that people need to build trust, right? And need to have a shared sense of a goal with the group overall. So over time, I think we went slow again there, but now we're in a situation where, I mean, 18 to 24 months down, right, where all the processes are pretty much now, you know, very, very operationalized, very streamlined, very also in some cases centralized where required. Some cases also, by the way, decentralized, because sometimes you have a brand, you know, DNA that you don't want to lose. So some, for instance, social assets or some sort of, you know, NPD assets may still be decentralized today.
Since we are talking about integration, one more question that comes is integration in retail. And this is a typical question for an online and an offline. You know, as a digital first brand, obviously then you scaled up and things got better. But how do you navigate this, the integration of both traditional as well as the digital part of it? And what is your future going ahead? What do you plan, you know, in terms of your growth strategy?
I mean, I think offline is an extremely critical part of anybody's strategy, right? I mean, and like, you know, the whole reality of it is you have to be where the customer is. The customer is both online and offline. So you can't not be offline and you can't just only be online, right? I think it's very real. And that was a choice, I think, and a strategy that we played very, very early on with the group as well. So the, you know, the 60,000 points of retail, you know, starting to invest in very strategic shop-in-shops, having very strong partnerships with, you know, some of our larger retailers, etc., something we all invested in very, very early on. I think where it gets really interesting is, I think, the opportunities that technology offers us today, right, Hitesh, to answer your question. And I think there are 3 things in particular that I think are really interesting trends that we're seeing playing out. One is having a 360 view of the customer. You know, I was in a chat in a podcast with Mr. Kishore Biani a couple of weeks back, and he was telling me, I'm so jealous of you all, right? Because today, for the first time, you can have a full 360 online and offline of your customer. We could never have that in future. Yeah. And that is, I think, there's a lot of optimization there. Okay, I'll be the first to admit. But it is happening. So I think that's a very big piece to it. And that completely changes the dynamic on, I mean, multiple, of course, economic factors on customer acquisition, customer retention, customer replenishment, etc. But also giving the customer better service, a superior service, right? The second, I think, that we are seeing that we, you know, had piloted online, but now are also piloting offline, is diagnostic tools. Now, I don't know about healthcare diagnostics because you're a beauty personal care brand, set of brands, but, you know, things like skin imaging, right? Virtual try-ons, magic mirrors. These are all things we've used in some form, fashion, maybe glitchy, but we've used it on our apps, we've used it on our MWebs, right? But you can actually use these offline as well, and that saves a lot of friction for someone. And of course, in, you know, in a lot of offline stores, one of the big reasons people come in is for trials, right? And this kind of reduces the friction on trying at scale. So your AOV automatically becomes a very, very differential number, much higher, exponentially higher number, right? Because you're expediting the trials and you're supporting and facilitating that through your entire piece on virtual try-ons, etc., right? The third thing is, you know, interesting innovations we're kind of seeing play out. You know, things like a sound box on the aisle, right? Talking about a certain offer or a new launch. Not every time do you need like a human intervention there, right? You could actually have someone say, hey, there's a new offer on. Or ping, ping, you know, you're walking down the aisle, something grabs your attention, right? Looking for a new eyeliner, right? Or Karina made favorite choice in shampoo. Karina ki favorite choice, right? Immediately catching your eye. So there's a whole piece around in-store marketing, right? And pitching or evangelizing or even using the in-store footprint to build in new formats of engagement with the customer that today only digital along, of course, with the support the retailer can enable. So I think there's a lot of, and of course, the fourth, of course, is the loyalty program, but that kind of goes back to the first point, right? Because that's an omni-channel experience that you're expecting today as a customer, right? That your loyalty points kind of like convert anywhere you are in any footprint that you take. So I think there's a lot of excitement around the whole, I think, omni-channel and truly omni-channel piece that we're seeing playing out today. And by the way, I want to just add this, right? It's not just, of course, in India, I'm so excited because I genuinely feel in many ways we are ahead of the curve. I was invited by the Indian government to be at Vista Tech in France, right, which is one of the largest sort of technology fests, and it is the largest in Europe. And of course, you were looking at all the behemoths there, talk about all the digital innovations, and I was like, but ye to hum India mein kar hi rahe hain. Like, if not us, someone else is doing it. So it's extremely exciting to see this play out in a very, very, I think, accelerated way in our own country.
Naiyya, reflecting on the journey now, what are those 1, 2, or 3 things that you could have done better? And what are those 1, 2, or 3 things that you can share with the audience that you have done better?
There are 100 things I could have done better. I mean, if you think about it. I'll start with, I mean, there are many things I could have done better, Hitesh. I think, you know, I think in the early days as an entrepreneur, right, I was very impatient. And I think that was sometimes not the best answer. Like, I think you have to be impatient, but I think you also have to celebrate the small wins that you have with your team on a very, very regular cadence. It's extremely important because, you know, end of the day, we are nothing without our teams. We are nothing without the people that are building this with us, right? And I can't emphasize this enough. So I think impatience is one thing that I've maybe kind of like, I think I could have done better on, honestly, right? I think that was one piece. I think the second thing I could have done better on was, you know, sometimes you reach a decision and you attribute it to, you know, maybe the timing or the luck, right? But I think sometimes you have to kind of step back and say that, okay, these decisions were made. There was a certain logic or certain thinking or a certain gut that went behind that decision. Take the time out to maybe internalize what that period looked like when you were making that decision, if the decision worked out well, right? And maybe take a step back to learn from it. I think in the journey of entrepreneurship, we're constantly like just running from one milestone to the other. We're not taking time to introspect and draw patterns on what could be working and what could be actually working well for us. So I think those are the 2 things I could have definitely done better in retrospect. I think what I did well was, you know, I think extreme transparency, right? When we were going through a decision, it's been captured in a Harvard Business School case in my decision to have Baby Chakra merge with MyGlam, right? But the transparency with which we talked about it to our shareholders, to our investors, to our customers as well, like to our core customers, to our communities, and of course to my team. I think that really helps build trust. Sometimes, you know, when things are really tough or you're making a very big decision, sometimes people tend to hold it to themselves and, you know, operate in silos because it seems to give them a sense of strength. Actually, it backfires. You actually want to be thoughtfully transparent because then you might sometimes get a better answer from someone you're least expecting it to come from. But more importantly, when the decision is taken, people have actually bought into that decision. I think that worked for us really well. And I think the second thing we've probably done well is that, you know, building out communities is something I think we did really, really well at Baby Chakra. Now we're building out brand communities at the Good Glam Group. So we have communities centered around the other brands, right? So we have Sirona Circle, we have an Organic Squad, we have the Glam Fam. You know, we have, of course, the Momsters, right, which is part of the Momsco and Baby Chakra community as well. I think that has been actually one of the secret sauces to how we've been able to build out trust at scale, as well as co-creation with these communities. Just to give you a sense, every month, we're co-creating products with more than 700,000 community members. We're getting feedback from them on new products we should launch. What are we doing well? What are the colors they want to see come out? What are the problem statements they're facing with their hair, skin, nails, whatever, right? And we're taking that feedback back real time and building products based on that feedback. And I think that has been something that's really ensured that our success rate on product creation and product launches has been much better than most averages.
Last, since the time is up, but I will take 1 or 2 more questions. What would be your advice to the budding entrepreneurs, Naiyya?
I'm not here to give advice. I truly tell everybody this, like, please, you're the main character in your journey. You know best what you're doing. And actually, please actually remember that. Because, you know, people we look up to and people we think who have their journey sorted out and everything is set, etc. they have gone through a certain journey, you are going through yours. So I think the only advice, if I would give to you is, number one, keep at it. Because it's a long game we're all playing, right? Building a brand is not like an overnight success game. It takes time to build trust. It takes time to build brands. It takes time to build your team, time to get customer love, right? To get distribution right. So please just be at it. And number two, I think celebrate the small wins with your team. And of course with your customers. Because, without them, we are nothing. We exist to be in service of our customers end of the day, right? So take the time out to celebrate the small wins, celebrate your customers, celebrate your team, celebrate the wins with your customers and team. I think these are the only two things I tell people.
Thanks, thanks Naiyya. With this, we come to an end to this very, very short fireside chat with Naiyya Sagi. But I think, if I have to sum up the brand Naiyya Sagi as, then, these are some of the words which, I feel in the last 15, 20 minutes that, we have spoken about. Sums up: integration, transparency, communities, trust, scale, co-creation, passion, and dedication and dedicated planning and execution is what Naiyya Sagi is all about. Thank you, Naiyya, for sharing.
Wow, you summed it up beautifully. Thank you, Hitesh. Thank you. What a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.